Never can be too cautious with strangers out here. Then again, you're no stranger, Lady Ventress.
So let's jump in with Sarah and Richard.
Hey, Nika, I am Richard. This is Sarah. We are from Skywalking Through Neverland.
Hi there.
Hi. Well, we are so excited. Asajj Ventress's voice is so iconic. So we really want to know, what do you do physically or mentally to prep for her voice? And any specific as possible would be great.
I was like, specifically nothing. No, I say that she just has an, I think will always just come through the universe into my being. I mean, back when she first started, when we first started together, we teamed up together, me and Asajj, I had this kind of vision of her, and I thought of her sort of as this kind of like powerful, regal human, even though she never was actually regal or a queen or anything. She's more of a witch. She did run a planet for a little while after her Jedi dad was killed, and then she kind of ran off all of the big bad guys off of the rat attack or whatever the island, the planet was. But besides that, she's never been a queen, but I felt as though she had this sort of like regal sensibility. And then now that she's kind of like gone through life and gone through all of her more hardships and a whole lifelong filled story of difficulty, I kind of, when doing, starting off the Bad Batch and doing this, Dave and I kind of thought like maybe we'd tone back a little less of the regal and do more of the sort of like, road weary, life weary woman of the street, and so I've kind of like made her a little bit just more like a little more tough and a little less regal. But I don't really, I never have, and I know I should, and especially now at this age, this my life, that I find that I have a lot less stamina than I used to have. I could do video games all day long. I could do a billion characters, and my range was like crazy. But the older I've gotten, the more things affect me. Like I was just in Vegas last week and it was dry and my throat was like, ugh. So I know there are things that I should be doing to physically get ready for what I do. I occasionally do tea and throat coat, hot water with lemon. But that's only because I've aged a bit and no longer have the capabilities to stretch it like I used to.
Well, you still look great. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to Josh.
Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
So my pleasure.
So I wanted to ask maybe an obvious question, but obviously Ventress has that amazing guest appearance in The Bad Batch, and everyone was wondering how she got there from where we left off in Dark Disciple. So when you were approached to do a Ventress-centric show like this, was there a particular element, a particular reason that made you want to continue playing the character?
Well, if you were Ventress and they asked you to do it again, wouldn't you say yes? I mean, duh. She's amazing, and I loved her from the beginning, and I was bummed when her story got cut short, when they stopped the Clone Wars and I wasn't in the last season. I just felt like she had so many more stories to have told about her, that we had just started scratching the surface of who and what she was and why her whole life had made her who she was and what that could mean for her future. And so I was bummed when we ended and she'd become a bounty hunter, and it was just the beginning of that story. And I thought, whoa, this is going to be so amazing because we're going to get to see all these sides of her. and see where she goes. So I kind of was hoping that at some point in the future, I was going to have an opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say finish because I never want her to end, but to continue on with what her stories could be. So I'm super psyched. I was completely shocked, like everybody else. I was like, I didn't know if I or she would ever come back as her, and so of course I jumped at the opportunity.
Great. Let's move on to Alex.
Hi, Nika. I'm Alex from Star Wars Explained. Thank you for taking
Hey,
some time to
Alex.
talk to us. Asajj Ventress shares a lot of similarities with Darth Maul because they were both Sith apprentices. They were cast aside by their masters. Then they were thought to be dead, but they returned to life. Maul never really changed his outlook on life. He stuck with the dark side the whole time. So, how do you think Asajj's path will differ from Maul's after her near-death experience?
Well, they're both Dathomir. They have a lot of the same genetics. So I think that there's that similarity there. I think the fact that she's female and rather witchy, that she can tap into other parts of herself. Um, I don't know his story as well as I know hers. Um, I know that I relate to both of, like I think they relate to each other in a way, but at the same time, I feel like she's her story is, I don't want to say more complicated. I just want to say that she's done the flip flop a lot. And but I think that even though, he was willing to try to kill her, or, uh I mean, they must be related in some way because they're both Dathomirian, and um so there's always going to be that connection. um but I feel like because she has been part of the Force, been part of the Jedi, been part of the dark side, been a she's been everything. And so I think that she's been able, and she's female. So there's this, at some point I feel like there has to be some kind of self-reflection that may be harder for him because he's a dude. Um,
Yeah, send him to therapy, please.
like he needs to go to therapy. I think also, we discover that she finds love. That'll soften up anyone at some point. We never thought she'd get there. And she's been such a lone wolf, and really so is he. And so I think they share that in common. But I think he still connects more with violence, where I feel like her path is heading her to a place where she's got to step back and go, how do I want to live the rest of my existence, and I think that as a female of any uh creature, whether it be human, humanoid, animal, whatever, eventually every woman finds themselves to a feeling, whether you're a mother or not, there's this part of her that is connecting with maybe being okay with occasionally being a protector, you know instead of just a you know killer. you know which is really easy for her. I don't know if she ever found it fun, but I think that it was just natural, just like it is for him. Did I go off the did I answer that?
Oh no, that was a great answer.
Good. Okay.
Great. Next up, we have Charlotte.
Hi, Nika. Thanks so much for taking the time today. I'm Charlotte from Sky Talkers. I was wondering, when preparing for Tales of the Underworld, are there any keywords or themes that you were given to prepare for this chapter of Ventress's story?
No.
Great.
Because it was like, we I mean, I shouldn't say that. That's not fair, because if you've ever been in a session with Dave, um he will talk for like an hour and a half before you ever record anything, and just go deep, go really deep. I just meant that preparing before I did the show, there wasn't anything. You know, I think that we talked a lot about what it would have been, what this time, this portion of time where we don't see her, where we haven't seen her, what would have happened in that time period? What would she have become? What, as just a maturing, what would happen to her in having all of the pain and experience and everything that she had? What would she now be this many years later? And we talked a lot about, that stuff. So, but, at the session. So I didn't really have time to prepare, because I don't even know if there is any preparing. When you become a character, in anything that you're doing as an actor person, she had been me and I'd been her for so long, even though there had been this thing that she was already a part of me. So I feel like I don't really have to think anything. We could talk about it a lot, but I already feel her. And I did from the beginning of when I did her. And I think maybe that's why they let me portray her, because I was like, this is how I feel she would be. And then as we went along the whole Clone Wars journey, we became more and more, we became one. And so that, preparing, if you become that character, then you just feel that character. And that's how I feel with her. And I feel like, as I was going through the Clone Wars, I was getting to know her more. And then I just felt her and still feel her. Yeah.
Thank you. William is next.
Hi, Nika. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. William Dever from the Canon podcast. Tales of the Jedi, or Tales series, tend to spend a bit of time with each character's past, their present and future. Without spoiling anything, which of the 3 episodes were you most excited to explore beforehand? And afterward, which ones turned out to be your favorite ultimately?
Well, I still haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. Keeping you in suspense.
I can't tell you which is my favorite yet. And so I can say the whole experience was incredible. Also, just because, I get to work with a new fun buddy who, you will meet, and who, what I loved about it was I kind of felt like here's an opportunity for Asajj to, protect and care in a way that she hasn't yet. And so it's like it's like a buddy movie, and it's without giving away stuff. I think that she's been running and running and running through her life, and now she must be forced to connect with this part of her that is that see, I keep wanting to say motherly, because that's kind of how I felt when I was doing it. But then that makes her, seem way softer than she is. Let's just say she doesn't like the fact that she has to learn how to care. Maybe it makes her uncomfortable. But I enjoy that tug and pull with her. I think that's what makes her the most interesting of characters. And so I think that I love this exploration into this place where anytime she's put into an uncomfortable situation, which is basically this little short series, is very uncomfortable for her, because she's got to tap into the softness in herself, let's just say. And I enjoyed that tug and pull.
Great. Brian, you're up.
Thanks for taking the time to do this. And Brian from the Full of Sith podcast. You have had a storied career doing lots of characters over lots of voice acting projects, and I'm wondering what it is about Asajj that makes her unique and special to you personally. Like, what is it that you connect with Asajj about that makes her special and worth coming back to?
Well, I think anybody given the opportunity to be in the Star Wars universe would jump at it. you know, that's number one, is that I get to work with like incredible other actors. And of course, you know, that I lucked out. I scored big when I started with Dave back, oh, so many years ago, to work with someone who's such a genius, but also such an incredible nerd himself, who's so into it, just like everybody else. You know what I mean? That it means that it's his whole life and his whole heart. So to work with somebody of that caliber, of that care, of that devotion, is unlike any of the projects that I've done in my whatever 30 something year career, you know, whatever. The other thing is this, is that like I play a lot of very different characters in my other shows, you know, whether it's kids or little creatures or funny or silly or whatever. A lot of stuff. That's what I've done a lot of in my career. I guess besides video games, it's been a rare moment where I've gotten to explore this character that is this multi-layered and who comes from a whole universe, where the stories are, you know, infinite. Everything else I do, although with the exception of I do the show Loud House, which is a kid show, and the character couldn't be more opposite. Luna Loud, she's this rocker chick who's a young teenager, and we've been doing that for 10 years, or 10 seasons, I should say. But besides that, pretty much every show that I've ever done maybe lasts like 2 seasons, 3 seasons at most. So you never get to explore in a way that you get to explore in this realm, you know, where and also in a world in which everybody involved is so into it. And I think that's the most special thing about being part of this world. And that, you know, there's nothing like it. And the fandom. There's nothing I've ever done in my whole career where people are as into it as this. And you know, you guys are here, so like there's something crazy about it, that people literally make this their whole lives. So to be a part of that is like, it's like if someone says to you, hello, I'm going to give you this and make you part of history. And you go, yeah, baby, I'll take it. That's what feels so, like I'm just talking about it, it gives me chills. And the fact that they have now brought her back, I'm like, oh, thank you. Because I wasn't done yet. So yeah.
Great. We have time for one more question. Trisha?
Hi, Trisha Barr from Fangirls Going Rogue podcast.
Hey.
Hi, I wanted to bring it back around to you saying that Ventress maybe had some royal inspiration. If Ventress were a Disney princess, what would be her want song? What does she want?
Her what song? She definitely doesn't want to build a snowman. That's okay. What would be her want song? Gosh, you know, ever since the whole, you know, Dark Disciple, that really messed me up because I would have said something completely different. But now she fell in love. And so, you know, I'd say, give me a dark love. Give me a deep, dark, dangerous love. Okay. Before that, I would say it would have been more, maybe a little bit more, I'm going to get my revenge, my revenge, my revenge. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, that's the problem with someone so complicated. I still think she likes a little revenge. I mean, she definitely likes a little revenge. But now there's sweet, syrupy love dangling in the background.